If ever we need proof that what happens on the other side of the world matters, we need only look at the global pandemic that is gripping all of us.
Should we be wearing masks, Sajid?
Absolutely, yes. And it's not a popular idea, rather it is based on scientific evidence.
After a year of social distancing and masks, people are tired.
People can't go to work. I'm not working right now because of COVID, so I'm losing money. I have my son.
During the last year, Christians, along with people of other faiths enduring the lockdowns, unable to gather, well, it leaves some people feeling that it's an infringement on their religious freedoms.
By meeting, we're testifying the government has no jurisdiction here, not with regard to our worship.
What led you to start Nurses Against Lockdowns?
We know that isolation is just as bad as stress. So a lot of them have failure to thrive. They're giving up. They're dying alone of broken hearts. And so to me, that's devastating.
COVID-19 is a global pandemic. And so we need to fight COVID everywhere in the world to make sure that we're safe.
My religion, if I did look at it, tells me that when there is a need for life or death, you go with what is important for your health.
Since the days where there were huge losses, say in the plague, there is a sense that we're hearing so much, we're seeing so much, we don't want to think about it. And so families aren't getting together, they're not grieving, and it's doing desperate things to them. And Jesus said, "Blessed are those who mourn, for they shall be comforted." And when people try to skip mourning, it comes back at them in 1,000 ways.
I see it as a year of racial dilemma for a lot of folks, right?
The hate-filled killings of unarmed black people in the U.S. sparked international outrage from every race under the sun, reaching the far corners of the world.
Some have called 2020 a year of global racial reckoning. How do you see the past year?
For some folks, it's been a racial reckoning, but I'd say for other folks, it's been racial hardening. And I would say for other folks, it's been a racial awakening, but it's kind of undetermined yet where that's going to go. The reality is everyone in some way had to respond. Even if it's hardening one's heart, they had to respond to the moment. It wasn't something that you could just pretend was not happening.
Bishop Harding, what were your thoughts when you heard the verdict?
We were all elated, but at the same time, I was a little skeptical because I'm saying to everyone, this is not the time to get too comfortable. We have a lot of work ahead, a lot of work to do.
Asian hate must stop.
Hate is learned. You don't come out of the womb hateful.
Amy, racism has been relevant in our societies for as long as history. However, we've seen a stark rise this past year from the COVID-19 pandemic. Can you tell us about your reporting on that?
Unofficially, we've seen, according to the Chinese Canadian National Council, that there's been more than 1,000 cases of anti-Asian hate crimes. 1 out of 10 of these cases, people have been coughed on, spat on. The vast majority of them have been subjected to verbal harassment. The vast majority have also been women. The fabric of our country is multicultural. And I think that's something that we celebrate. And right now we're just seeing that being diminished a little bit in the sense of how we treat certain groups.
Here in Canada, 2020 saw Indigenous people facing inexplicable pain when police answered wellness checks by families who called for their loved ones in distress but met with death.
So the video of Joyce Echaquan was difficult to watch. A mother of 7 filming her last moments on her cell phone. What were your thoughts when you saw this and heard about it?
It was devastating. It was devastating that this happened again, and I'm sure it's happening right now. And without the courage of Joyce Echaquan to actually do a Facebook Live to share this, we would not know that this happened to her.
We need our voices to be heard. We need answers to everything that they covered up.
Today on the program, we speak with Americans, Canadians, and expats on both sides of the Democratic and Republican vote. This election is anything but cut and dry. Terror in Washington, D.C. has shaken our world.
I'm grateful that I finally stopped ignoring Lori Ann Thompson's voice and was one of the ones at RZM who got to speak up for women and try to help the ministry really hear them. About 1 out of every 3 girls in Canada is sexually abused by their 18th birthday. The amount of people in Canada who have been sexually abused, both girls and guys, is astronomically heartbreaking.
As an abuse survivor yourself and a Christian, how does it feel when you keep hearing these allegations of prominent leaders in the church committing sexual abuse?
It is very disconcerting and discouraging, but I am really encouraged that some of these things are being brought to the light.
You can't unsee those images. And the idea that a major internet company is monetizing those videos, I found just unconscionable.
Your article broke new ground in the form of Pornhub changing their content policies. Did you receive backlash for this article?
We're in a business where we dish it out and we, of course, get it back. And so, on the one hand, I heard from women and girls who'd had videos on Pornhub that they could not get off. And then now those videos are off. And one wrote to me that now I can breathe again.
Because of technology, people are more prone today to develop a compulsive sexual behavior. Because Fight the New Drug was what sparked my honesty and my road toward recovery, I decided to do a project for them. So I was turning 30 years old, and so I ran 30 marathons in 30 days wearing handcuffs. And then I rode my bicycle across the United States, dragging chains.
See these communities that have felt all of this hurt and trauma for so long, residential school. And this isn't, 100, 200, 300-year-old traumas. This is stuff that happened in my lifetime. This is stuff that's still happening right now.
What better time for us as Christians to show our colors in the work of reconciliation and healing and restoration.
Really what people need to do to deal with reconciliation is to know their history, to know how the Haudenosaunee arrived here, and to know how Europeans and settlers arrived in this area, and how, in the end of the day, no one's going anywhere. We're both going to be here for a long time, and finding a way to live in peace and finding justice is really essential.
This was my plane ticket. On January 8th. This is my name.
So you're supposed to be on that flight?
Colleen, our program today is about medical assistance in dying, and you went through that experience in the family. Can you tell us about that, please?
My husband's uncle chose to do medically assisted dying, and it was devastating on our whole family. He was 84 years old and was just experiencing normal issues that seniors have, but he decided that he was tired and just didn't want to go on living anymore. Everyone tried to talk him out of it. It was devastating.
Recreational drugs have been part of our culture for thousands of years, but the danger in them today that even dabbling can take your life.
So my friend overdosed. Danny eventually died, my other best friend. He overdosed on my backyard one time, and I called an ambulance right away, and the police came, and they have the Good Samaritan law, which they can't charge you or even take your drugs or search you for drugs if you're calling for an overdose. So it's more important to save that person's life than it is to have any charges.
Is that why you're getting into social work, so that you can not give up on people as well?
Where I grew up in Hamilton I was living in poverty, barely getting the proper dinners and on the food and stuff like that. So to be here and to be on this journey is only something I can attribute to God's never-ending faithfulness.
The thing I think people sometimes don't get about suicide is that you don't actually want to stop life. You want to stop suffering, right? And that's where I was at.
This story is a sad reality of how broken the healthcare system is in this country. You and your family are dedicated to speaking out. Why?
I guess the big thing is we want Lexi's death to have some type of meaning. We didn't want her to just be another statistic. The story is resonating with so many people that have shared such similar experiences with the child or a loved one that we feel now we don't want to stop till the changes are actually made.
Whoever you are, you already have all the values you need to care about climate change. So where does the debate come in? The debate comes in terms of the solutions. People are scared because solutions involve change.
Sat7 is not a job for me. It's a call. It's a mission. It's something that is on my heart, and people could see it because I've seen the difference that the programs over the years made in, like in people's hearts and mind, not just, like women, but also girls in the Middle East and North Africa, to associate their stories, with my story and other stories, and aspire to be leaders one day.
I wasn't now going to start becoming this Black woman in tech. I am a human being, and I happen to be in technology. I happen to work in corporate, and I happen to be beautifully Black.
What would you say to an upcoming young woman and wanting to be a social worker?
Oh, I'd say it's one of the best jobs you can have. I really mean that. I almost think I wish I was still there in lots of ways.
I do what I do as a musician because I feel called to be a musician in the world, not for the accolades, and certainly not for the travel or fame, because that's sort of a relative term anyway for someone who's in jazz.
The great commandments: love God with all of our heart, soul, mind, and strength. I would put in front of you that music is one of those things that could combine those 4 different areas in a most powerful way.
We have never seen more food bank clients in our entire history than we are now. Wow. They're just individuals that you'd sit beside on the bus or the streetcar, and now they need to do whatever they need to do in order to make sure that their family's needs are met.